What if I told you there was a player in the NBA today who is 6'9", athleticism of prime Blake Griffin, the rebounding of Dennis Rodman, the playmaking of 76er Ben Simmons, and the defensive abilities of Draymond Green? And no, it's not who you're thinking. It is not Paolo Banchero, and as someone who was putting up better numbers than Chet Holmgren and Zion Williamson, it is none other than Jalen Johnson. Now listen. I know what you guys are thinking. Who the hell is Jalen Johnson? And why are we talking about him today? We have players like De'Aaron Fox dropping 60. Why do I care about some guy named Jalen Johnson? I know most of you guys don't really watch Hawks games, only if Trae Young is having a great game, but just hear me out, because by the end of this video, you'll all agree with me. Jalen Johnson is a 23-year-old forward who's going into his 4th year in the NBA, and every single season of his career so far, he has made major improvements to his game. So before I talk about current day Jalen Johnson, let me give you guys a little background into him and who he is as a player. In college, where in his first season at Duke, he averaged 11 points and 6 rebounds, which isn't the most impressive just looking at the stats and what he was really putting up averages wise. But there's more than just the stats while we're looking at Jalen Johnson. For every scouting report, the major things that stood out was his athleticism and his defensive versatility. Coming out of high school, he was top 10 in his class, but unfortunately, he sustained a foot injury which also lingered throughout his freshman year in college. Now going into the 2021 draft, Jalen Johnson was selected with the 20th overall pick in that draft. In the 21-22 season, Jalen Johnson was relegated to the G League, only playing 22 games. As a 20th overall pick, there wasn't much expectations going into the season, while on the other hand, the Hawks had high expectations for themselves, pushing it for the playoffs, and they didn't want a rookie getting in the way of vets getting minutes. As we know, made the Eastern Conference Finals, Jalen Johnson barely saw the floor unless it was a blowout, but still, on those 22 games that season, Jalen Johnson put up 2.4 points per game and 1 rebound. It is now the 22-23 season is where I believe the potential for Jalen started to show. It started to show how suddenly thin the Hawks bench became after trading for Danilo Gallinari. Jalen finally had to step up into that bench role and show some promise. This season, while playing 70 games in the 2022-2023 season, he put up almost 6 points per game, 49% shooting from the field, and 14 minutes per game. He improved into a much smoother finisher around the rim, especially off the dribble compared to last season. His versatility as a defender was really starting to show, and he was able to keep up with guards and rim protect against bigs throughout that year, but still much more room for him to grow. Now, the 2023-2024 season was the best opportunity for Jalen Johnson to finally show out and become somewhat of a household name. Now, this was the time for Jalen Johnson to finally show out after the John Collins trade, and that starting spot ultimately became his. In the first 10 games in that season, he put up 14 points per game, 8 rebounds, 2 assists on 39% from 3 and 60% from the field. It was clear he had improved drastically from the previous season. I started to realize the brilliance of Jalen Johnson a week into the NBA season. On exactly October 30th, I picked him up on my fantasy team. And all honestly, at the time, I didn't think anything of it. Quickly became a fan of Jalen Johnson. He had impacted the game on every aspect on the court. At the end of the season, Jalen averaged 16 points per game, 51% from the field, 35 from 3, and almost 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal and a half a game. The Hawks having a very disappointing year. He was by far the brightest spot in the 2023-24 season. With his play, Johnson solidified himself in the eyes of many as one of the players the Hawks should be willing to hold on to and build towards the future with. He was the only Hawk that I saw last season they could trust on both aspects on the court on a nightly basis, and he is by far the most important player on the team. Don't confuse it with me saying that he is the best player on the team. He is the most impactful player and the most important player. There's two different things. Trae Young is by far the most important player. It's not even close. From being a G Leaguer in his first NBA season, being a key bench player in the sophomore year, and to being a key cornerstone in the Hawks' future throughout his junior year, this season nothing changed. In the 14 games the Hawks have played this year, Jalen Johnson averaging 20 points per game, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. Everything we have seen throughout the years is starting to come together fully. His passing, his playmaking, his athleticism, and his defending is still there, shooting 65% at the rim, recording 7 double-doubles in the 14 games. He even led the Hawks to beating the Boston Celtics, one of the best defenses in the league, without Trae Young by his side. Also recording his second career triple-double that game, putting up 18 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists, shooting 50% from the field, 50% from 3, with only 3 turnovers. He's who I believe everyone thought Ben Simmons was going to be. Scoring his career high at the beginning of the season with 29 points against the Washington Wizards, it's only up from here. And his defense has been great to start the year, with opponents shooting 62% in the restricted area when guarded by Jalen Johnson. To put that into perspective, opponents are shooting 59% against Wemby and 65% against Rudy Gobert. If And if that doesn't sell you on how great of a defender he is, when he is guarding a player from the mid-range to around the 3-point line, they are shooting 43.4% from the field. To compare, that's better than Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, RJ Barrett, and Anthony Davis. What more I can say to convince you? All year long, he has kept the Hawks afloat, him and Dyson Daniels, while Trae Young is missing games. I became a Jalen Johnson fan at the beginning of the 23-24 season, but now I'm damn near a Jalen Johnson super fan. I'm gonna admit it. Now, if a couple years from now, if everything I said about him comes true, if he becomes an all-star, defensive player of the year candidate, if he somehow becomes an MVP candidate, don't say I didn't tell you so. Also, I cannot wait to see him play great defenses like the Golden State Warriors or defend a great offense like the Cleveland Cavaliers. If you'd like to see what I think about both those teams, the video is on screen now. See you guys in the next video. Remember, go hard on them dudes. Salute.